and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nay. If you're new, thank you so much for clicking and watching this video. Today's video is going to be a winter reading list video. I have 8 books to share with you guys. I have 4 nonfiction books as well as 4 fiction books. I have 2 books for December, 2 for January, February, as well as March, because winter is from December 21st till March 20th. I did a lot of research for these books, so I feel like these are going to be really good books, and I can't wait to read them all with you guys. Before we jump into the actual books, I just want to say this video is going to be sponsored by Audible. Audible is a great service that you can actually listen to books on the go. I love listening to audiobooks when I go for a run, when I'm driving long distances, when I'm getting ready in the morning. I love listening to them when I'm cleaning my house. It's just a really great way to get your reading in without actually sitting down and reading an actual physical book, because a lot of the times we get really busy, especially with the holidays coming up. So you can choose up to 3 titles per month with Audible, 1 audiobook as well as 2 Audible originals, and you can listen on any device. Right now is the best time to get a good deal on Audible, because for a limited time they are going to be giving you guys 3 months of Audible for just $6.95 a month. That's more than half off the regular price, so it's definitely a steal. I will leave everything linked in the description box below. You can give yourself the gift of listening to books, or you can give the gift of Audible to a loved one. All you have to do is go to audible.com/ReneeA. That's RENEEA, or text Renee A to 500-500. All the books that I'm going to be reading for this winter are all books that are on Audible, so you can read all of these books on Audible. Again, if you want to get this really good deal for the holiday season, just go to audible.com/ReneeA or text Renee A to 500-500. So thank you so much, Audible, for sponsoring this video. I just think that's a really great deal. You can't really get any better than that, especially for the holidays. So let's go ahead and jump into the books. For the month of December, I have 2 books. So the first book is The Art of Racing in the Rain. This is a dog book. So if you guys are familiar with like Marley and Me, that's kind of what this book is similar to. It doesn't have the plot on the back, so I'm going to read it from Goodreads. If you guys aren't following me on Goodreads, it's just Renee Amberg. But I put all the books that I'm currently reading on there, as well as my book reviews. So if you guys want to follow along and get the books, follow me on Goodreads, and I'll also link all the books down below for you guys if you guys want to get them. Also, excuse the noise. It's super windy outside, so my palm tree is going crazy right now. I don't know if you guys can even see that. It is super windy. It says, Enzo knows he is different from other dogs, a philosopher with a nearly human soul and an obsession with opposable thumbs. He has educated himself by watching television extensively and by listening very closely to the words of his master, Denny Swift, an up-and-coming race car driver. Through Denny, Enzo has gained tremendous insight into the human condition, and he sees that life, like racing, isn't simply about going fast. On the eve of his death, Enzo takes stock of his life, recalling all that he and his family have been through. A heart-wrenching but deeply funny and ultimately uplifting story of family, love, loyalty, and hope. The Art of Racing in the Rain is a beautifully crafted and captivating look at the wonders and absurdities of human life as only a dog could tell. The purpose of human life through a dog's eyes. I love reading dog stories. I don't know 100% yet, but I'm pretty sure. Actually, I don't want to say pretty sure yet, because I don't know, I really have been wanting to adopt a dog. I don't know, just being around dogs, there's just like such a good feeling, and dogs are just such beautiful souls, and anything dog related, it's just gets me in all the feels. And this is like a perfect holiday story. I usually go for like more crime stories, so this one's more uplifting and I feel like more family oriented. There's also going to be a movie soon, and you guys know how much I love movies with my books. Amanda Seyfried and Milo, I wrote down how to pronounce his name because I don't know how to pronounce his name. Milo Ventimiglia. It's the guy that's in Gilmore Girls, Jess. Or if you guys watch This Is Us, it's the dad. I think he's so attractive. He's so, like, there's something like very confident about him. But anyway, that's going to be a really good movie. So I wanted to pick up and snag the book before the movie came out. I just really think it's going to be a good holiday book. As for the nonfiction book, I picked up Outliers. I have heard so much about this book, and it has actually been on my list for quite a while now. And I just think it's a really good book for the beginning of the new year, especially because we feel so productive, we want to accomplish our goals, all that stuff. So I'll read the back for you guys. In understanding successful people, we have come to focus far too much on their intelligence and ambition and personality traits. Instead, Malcolm Gladwell argues in Outliers, we should look at the world that surrounds the successful, their culture, their family, their generation, and their idiosyncratic experiences of their upbringing. Along the way, Gladwell reveals what the Beatles and Bill Gates have in common, the reason you've never heard of the smartest man in the world, why almost no star hockey players are born in the fall, and why it comes to plane crashes where the pilots are born matters as much as how well they're trained. The lives of outliers, people whose achievements fall outside normal experience, follows a peculiar, I can't say that word, and unexpected logic, and in uncovering that logic, Gladwell presents a fascinating and provocative blueprint for making most of the human potential. If you guys know what outliers are, in statistics I learned about it in high school, but it's basically like when you have like a whole bunch of data, but then there's like an outlier which is extremely high or extremely low and not part of the group that can sway the results of like the data. So basically it's like the top 1% of like the most successful people, and he studies them not in a sense of like how smart they are, but like where they come from, which I find so interesting. And I like too how the back, it's like the outlier is like the red apple and all the green apples. It's basically the story of success. So I think it's a really good book to read towards the end of the year to kind of get you set up for January and get your goals accomplished and become successful. So maybe one day we can become an outlier ourselves. I've heard really good things about this book, so I'm excited for that one. As for January, the start of the new year, I picked up Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. This is part of Reese Witherspoon's book club, and I've heard, again, really good things about this book. Meet Eleanor Oliphant. She struggles with appropriate social skills and tends to say exactly what she's thinking. Nothing is missing in her carefully timetabled life, where weekends mostly consist of frozen pizza, vodka, and phone chats with Mummy. But everything changes when Eleanor meets Raymond, the mumbling IT guy from her office, whose big heart will ultimately help Eleanor find the way to repair her own profoundly damaged one. I think she like lives in a very bubbled routine, and it kind of explains and shows how she, I don't know, honestly, gets out of the routine. It's like, I'm just fine, but then she kind of like experiences situations and things that like get her out of her comfort zone, you know, the benefits of getting out of her routine. That's kind of what I'm assuming. And again, if you guys know anything about Reese Witherspoon and her books, she has a really good book club. Her and Oprah, like any book that they recommend, I'm like, add it to my list because I just know it's gonna be good. And then as for the nonfiction book for January, I picked up Buddhism, Plain and Simple. If you guys have followed me on Instagram, I mentioned a video about Buddhism by Kalel, who is another YouTuber, and I watched her video and it was like such a life-changing video. I'll leave that link down below too if you guys want to watch it. But she talked a lot about this book, and these were like aha moments for me, just like her talking about them. So I was like, I have a feeling this is gonna change my life. Like, I honestly, like from what she has said about Buddhism, and I've always wanted to learn about Buddhism. So I think this one, it says plain and simple. So I think it kind of just explains the basics of Buddhism. And I've always just been really curious of Buddhism. So I'll read the back. This is a book about awareness. Not awareness of something in particular, but awareness itself. Being awake, alert, in touch with what is actually happening. It's about examining and exploring the most basic questions of life. It's about relying on the immediate experience of the present moment. It's about freedom of the mind. Just from the explanations that Kalel was talking about it, I'm so excited about this one. I feel like that's a great one for the beginning of the year again. So as for February, I have actually watched this movie a long time ago, but he actually just came out with the second book. So I wanted to read the first one because I never read it, and I don't actually really vividly remember the movie, and that book is The 5 People That You Meet in Heaven. Eddie is a grizzled war veteran who feels trapped in the toil of his father before him, fixing rides at a seaside amusement park. As the park has changed over the years, from the loop up to the pipeline plunge, so too has Eddie changed, from his optimistic youth to embittered old age. His days are a dull routine of work, loneliness, and regret. Then, on his 83rd birthday, Eddie dies in a tragic accident trying to save a little girl from a falling cart. With his final breath, he feels 2 small hands in his and then nothing. He awakens in the afterlife where he learns that heaven is not a lush Garden of Eden, but a place where your earthly life is explained to you by 5 people who were in it. These people may have been loved ones or distant strangers, yet each of them changed your path forever. One by one, Eddie's 5 people illuminate the unseen connections of his earthly life. As the story builds to its stunning conclusion, Eddie desperately seeks redemption in his still unknown last act of life. Was it a heroic success or a devastating failure? The answer, which comes from the most unlikely of sources, is a magical and inspirational as a glimpse of heaven itself. I actually tweeted something that a quote that I came across about another book that I want to read eventually in the future. My life story is the story of everyone I've ever met. So this kind of explains the 5 most influential people that this Mitch, it's Mitch, right? Eddie, Mitch is the author, has experienced in his life, and he meets these people in heaven, and it's kind of like the Scrooge of Christmas. This is like I'm pretty sure it was like a New York Times bestseller, and it was #1. Yeah, it was a #1. So it's definitely a good book. I'm really interested in it, and I'm excited to read it. As for the nonfiction, this one's a little bit different, and it's huge. Literally. This one is called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, and this is what the new science of psychedelics teaches us about consciousness, dying, addiction, depression, and transcendence. So if you guys know anything about drugs, I'm not saying to do drugs. I've never done psychedelic drugs. I don't really have an interest, to be honest. I feel like that's almost like a shortcut way of getting an understanding of like your deeper consciousness, but I definitely think there's benefits, especially for people who have been in like, you know, the army or the military, who suffer with, you know, certain things. I've heard so many stories about psychedelics that have changed people's lives for the better and kind of gave them a deeper understanding of like who they are. Just like, I love those stories about psychedelics. From this moment in my life, I don't think I would ever do it. That actually scares the shit out of me to like, I don't know, be in that state of mind. But I'm always curious about people who have done it. It says, when Michael Pollan set out to research how LSD and psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, are being used to provide relief to people suffering from difficult to treat conditions such as depression, addiction, and anxiety, he did not intend to write what is undoubtedly his most personal book. But upon discovering how these remarkable substances are improving the lives not only of mentally ill, but also of healthy people coming to grips with challenges of everyday life, he decided to explore the landscape of the mind in the first person as well as third. Thus began a singular adventure into various altered states of consciousness, along with a deep dive into both the latest brain science and the thriving underground community of psychedelic therapists. I also watched like something on Chelsea Handler's Netflix documentary about, what is that one? It's like a tea. Oh my god, what's it called? Ayahuasca. Like, that one really interests me. And DBT or whatever, and people see like, they say they see like God and like another dimension. Like, it's just really interesting, and I'm always curious. Pollan sifts the historical record to separate the truth about these mysterious drugs from the myths that have surrounded them since the 60s, when a handful of psychedelic evangelists inadvertently catalyzed a powerful backlash against what was then a promising field of research. So it's about like the science history of like these medicines, of these psychedelic drugs, and I don't know, I'm really curious. Again, I think this is on the bestsellers list right now, and it has been for a while. So I'm excited to kind of dive into this. This is more of like a science book. I always try to, like, as bad as I am at science, I always try to get a science book because I want to be able to learn more about like the brain and science and all that stuff. So as for March, the book that I picked, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, this is the second book. The next person you meet in heaven, and it's basically about the girl who was in Eddie's. I'm not going to read it to you because I don't want to give anything away from the first book, but it's basically the girl that Eddie saved when she goes to heaven, when they meet, Eddie and the girl. I'm not going to read this one because I feel like you have to read the first one to kind of see first what happens and then get it. But if you guys like the first one, I'm pretty sure you'll like the second one. This just came out, so that's kind of why I got the first one, to kind of read and understand the second one. As for the nonfiction for March, the last book for winter is the Neville Reader. I am so excited about this. I was gonna put this in my fall reading list, but I ended up putting obviously different ones. But if you guys have ever heard of Neville Goddard, he has quotes that are just like crazy. He's written like a ton of different books, and the Neville Reader is like all of his books combined. So this one has 7 different books of his in one. So these are the 7 books right here, and it's just kind of laid out in that sense. So it's basically his collection of books. Neville Goddard was among the last century's most articulate and charismatic purveyors of the philosophy generally called New Thought, which is the law of attraction. He wrote 10 books under the solitary pen name Neville and was a popular speaker on metaphysical themes from the late 30s until his death in 72. Possessed of a self-educated and uncommonly sharp intellect, Neville captured the sheer logic of creative mind principles as perhaps no other figure of his era. Definitely going to be a very spiritual book, and I've wanted this one again for so long, and I finally picked it up. So that is going to be it for my winter reading list. Like I said, if you guys want to check out the books, I'll leave them linked down below. I'll leave my Goodreads link down below. Add me, I'll add you back, and we can read these winter books together. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, I will leave updates on my Instagram about the books that I am reading. And if you guys want to snag up Audible, you can get 3 months for only $6.95 per month. That is such a steal. You can give it to someone that you love, or give it to yourself. Gift yourself the gift of Audible. Just go to audible.com/Renee or text Renee to 500-500. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you so much. I will be doing Vlogmas. I will be vlogging all things holiday. For me, that's going to be Christmas related stuff all the way until Christmas, December 25th. So there's gonna be a ton of videos out, and I'm so excited. If you guys have any requests of like what to film or what you guys want to see me do, definitely pop them down below, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye guys.